Alrighty guys, we're back for Rotation Proof of Big Green, and this is an Outlaws with under Junction Standard brew, and I'm Red Cat. Let's briefly go over the deck, then hop right into some ranked. This is very much a Defiler of Vigor list. This is a 5 mana, 6/6 with Trample. Oh my goodness, the stats alone are pretty darn good, but as an additional cost to cast green permanent spells, you may pay 2 life. Those spells cost 1 green mana less to cast if you paid life this way. This effect reduces only the amount of green mana you pay. Whenever you cast a green permanent spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Beautiful. We're going to be pairing this with Gwenna, Eyes of Gaea. All 4 of them packed in, even though it's a legendary creature. It's a 3 mana, 2/3. You can tap it, add 2 mana in any combination of colors, spend this mana only to cast creature spells, or activate abilities of creature sources. So whenever you cast a creature spell with power 5 or greater, you put a +1/+1 counter on Gwenna, Eyes of Gaea, and you get to untap it as well, which is pretty darn good because then you can tap it again and play more creatures. We have plenty of things in here that actually have power 5 or greater, like Hulking Raptor, for example. All 4 of them in here. It's a 4 mana, 5/3 with Ward 2. Nice. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, you add double green, which is going to be excellent in here. We also have a couple of Bristlebud Farmers, a 4 mana, 5/5 trample. My goodness, the stats on these creatures, huh? So in the CTBs, you get 2 food tokens, and then whenever a Bristlebud Farmer attacks, you may sacrifice a food. If you do, you mill 3 cards, then you can put a permanent card from among them into your hand. But I'll tell you what, in this build in particular, you might be using that food a lot just to gain some life back, especially if you're using that Defiler's ability often. More things on the top end here. We do have a Kaslem, Deepest Growth, 5 mana, 6/5 with Trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you reveal that many cards from the top of your library. You may put a creature card and or land card from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order, and of course when it dies, you return it to the battlefield tapped as a Temple of Cultivation, which might not be too bad to go ahead and flip this back into Kaslem. We also have a Thrun, Breaker of Silence, a great top end, man. The 5 mana, 5/5, it can't be countered. It has Trample, and as long as it's your turn, it has Indestructible as well. But then, get this, it can't even be a target of non-green spells your opponents control or abilities from non-green sources your opponents control. So yeah, that's a lot, dude. That's a lot packed onto a card. Check out this top end. Surrak and Goreclaw, 6 mana, 6/5 with Trample. It is in fact a legendary creature. Other creatures you control have Trample. Whenever another non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and then it gains haste until end of turn. So fitting the whole +1/+1 counter theme in here, we do have a couple Ozolith, the Shattered Spire, which of course it is a legendary artifact, but it also has that cycling for 2 at the bottom, which could come in handy. More things fitting the +1/+1 counter theme. We do have a Bristly Bill Spine Sower in here. And we also have a couple Goldvein Hydras too. More ramp at the early game. We have Citanul Stalwart here, which of course we could like tap things like Ozolith for that ramp. We do have more ramp with more creatures with Armored Scrapgorger too, which of course taps for 1 mana in any color. Okay, guys, there's a couple cards that we didn't go over that are actually pretty important. All 4 Outcaster Trailblazers in the cut. Keeping our hand nice and stocked up because whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, you draw a card. It also has plot for 2 and a green. When it ETBs, you add 1 mana of any color. So technically, even more ramp packed in, right? We do have 1 Ancient Cornucopia too. That's just a mana rock. Add 1 mana of any color. However, also, whenever you cast a spell that's 1 or more colors, you gain 1 life for each of that spell's colors. So in this deck list, you're just gaining 1 life. But I'll tell you what, man, every time you play something once a turn, you gain 1 life. That could go a long way. I mean, that like the life gain is one of the reasons we play Celestis. So yeah, I like Ancient Cornucopia in here. 24 forests, hopefully that's enough. I mean, we have so much ramp packed in, but we also have a huge top end. Like, there's a reason I took time to go over most of this top end. Oh, also, a couple Silverback Elders because it's more ways to gain more life, and I think the life gain is going to be very important in here because of that Defiler. We do have some honorable mentions over here. Lone Speaker was a card that I thought about. A Case of the Trampled Garden, yep. Railway Brawler could have been cool. Tyrannix Rex and Vault-Born Tyrant. All of these cards honorable mentions for a very good reason. Okay, I like to do my dandies to save the more in-depth discussion for the end of the video, so let's go ahead, take this into some ranked, and see how we do. All right, we'll see if we can get right into that first game. In the meantime, what am I expecting from the build? Okay, I played like one test game with this, and I immediately stopped playing test games because I popped off so ridiculously well that I was like, ah, man, I wish I was recording. So when I play test games, I never know if I'm going to be changing up the deck list, and most of the time I do change up the deck list pretty significantly after test games, so it ends up being a very different version of the list by the time the video comes around. So we'll see if we can pop off just as well as my test game. This is not a bad hand, I suppose. The double stalwarts at least ramp us a little bit, and they miss with the duress. Beautiful. It would have been hard not to miss with the duress against this build. Any of our 2-mana cards off the top would be great, even Ozolith, of course. Another Defiler. All right, let's get the Stalwart number 2 down. And we only have 2 mana on the board, so we have nothing else for the turn, unfortunately. And depending on whether or not we see Forest, we might plot the Trailblazer and try ramp that way. Against Dimir colors, I'm just gonna not swing for 1. As this is the type of build that overkills anyways. So I don't think that 1's going to do too much. I don't know what the Dimir colors could do against an attacker, but they're going to drop a deduce. I just felt like not swinging there, just in case. I don't know. I don't think that 1's going to matter. Okay. Mr. Kaslem off the top. Probably go for the plot on the Trailblazer. I'm still tempted by the swings on the stalwarts. I feel like we're gonna. Okay, I should swing, and I probably should have swung with the 1/1 last turn too, because if it's gonna be removal, better to remove the stalwarts than anything else. But okay, they just go for the clue. Yeah, the double stalwarts was definitely much more tempting than the single stalwart swings. So Trailblazer comes down free next turn. We grab a forest or a green source with it. And we could potentially play one of our 5 drops, which is going to be the Defiler. Seeing a forest off the top would, of course, be pretty great too. 4th mana comes down from the opponent. Hulking Raptor is pretty darn good, guys. I'm tempted just to play that, actually. Because what that lets us do, well, start with Trailblazer and see what they do here. Then we'll grab a green source on the Trailblazer. Well, since we have double... Oh, they go for a full-on counterspell, so it is just going to be the Hulking Raptor for the turn. Unfortunately, that means we're not restocking our hand that well. And against Dimir at any point, turn 5 board wipe could happen, and a board wipe would be very, very rough against this. If we get to keep the Raptor around, though, then we're ramping really nicely, and we might just go right into the Goreclaw, depending on whether or not we think that we're gonna eat a board wipe. I guess technically, if the opponent misses a 5th this turn, maybe we'll take that risk. They find their 5th. It is a tapped land, so we probably don't take that risk. So what exactly do we want to do here? They go for duress. They just double check in here, right? Duress, of course, misses. Thrun. Yeah, against board wipe, Thrun die. Everything dies to the board wipe. Dimir's turn 5 board wipe that I literally never know the name of. You know what? I'm gonna have to make some flashcards for all the new board wipes, right? So we're gonna go for the Kaslem here. We want to do that before we lose the double green, of course. And the Kaslem, at least if it dies, it's a land. Spot removal for the Stalwarts. Yeah, of course the Goreclaw is very tempting because then we can start giving creatures haste next turn, but I'm pretty sure like whatever big thing we play just doesn't survive. Oh, a counter spell for that is huge for the opponent. We're definitely going for that full swing. I don't know why I wasn't expecting a counter spell, man. I mean, we already got hit by the 3 steps ahead, so board wipe now with this hand would be really, really bad because we need the ramp off the Raptor. Okay, nice. We do find a forest. Defiler number 1, I suppose. Although Thrun can't be countered. Getting more counter spells out of the opponent's hand is fine anyways. We do have the 6 for the Goreclaw set up, though. I guess that's fine, too. I guess that's fine. We can only swing with the Raptor for the turn, and it trades into a Reef, and a trade into the Reef would be pretty good. We still get a little bit through with the Trample as well. We could swing with the Stalwarts, too, because a block into one of those means 6 gets through. Yeah, since we had 6 available, wow. They take it down to 4. Memory Deluge for the turn. Find the board wipe, says the opponent. This Thrun could be huge for us, man, if we can establish it after the board wipe, because their spot removal doesn't hit it well, and it gets around the counter spells, too. If they don't pick up this Goreclaw, then they're in danger. They need to pick up something, or all of it, right? And I'm still thinking that it's going to be a board wipe. Undercity Sewers. I don't know why I can never remember their 5-mana board wipe. They do play it, though. They definitely do. Although this version of Demir's running a bit more counterspells than I'm used to. Or the same amount of counterspells, but they saw more of them this game, right? With 6 mana available. Ah, Deadly Cover-Up. That's what it's called. Alright, right on time, guys. Mana off the top is going to be necessary here. In other words, the opponent's pulled back into this. But mana into Thrun means if they don't have Deadly Cover-Up number 2... which ones did they... They got rid of the Hulking Raptor. Dude, mana off the top is huge for us. Let's get that Thrun down and established. Spot removal, not dealing with it well. And indestructible on our turn as well. Yeah, we knew once they went for the Memory Deluge that they were going to try their dandiest to find the board wipe. Missing the board wipe means they do have the power up on the Reef if they want to go that route. They know we have Defiler in hand. I guess we start with a swing. Let's see what they do. And I might plot up the Trailblazer to try to draw. That way Trailblazer plays around another Deadly Cover-Up. We do have Indestructible on our turn. I'm sorry, guys. I'm butchering my words today for some reason. So the Death Touch does not eat the Thrun. I'll tell you what, dude. This Thrun could be what pulls us through. If we play more creatures, we might just tempt a board wipe out of their hand. Although they're going to have to board wipe this Thrun regardless to get around its middle ability. They go down to 3. We're just gonna plot. Just gonna plot for the turn. And let Thrun do the thing. So, Breaker of Silence can't be the target of non-green spells your opponents control, or abilities of non-green sources your opponent controls as well. On our turn, it has Indestructible, which just makes it so disgusting, dude. Against Dimir, it's the perfect card. Like, another Deadly Cover-Up could take care of it. So Deadly Cover-Up number 2, that's just a 1-for-1. Now, what we'd end up doing here, Forest isn't bad. We'll go ahead, get the Trailblazer down and start restocking our hand at a green source. Uh-oh, spot removal for Trailblazer means we do not get to restock our hand, which pulls the opponent back in easily, dude. We're in trouble. We're in some serious danger here. And they know what's in our hand, too. They know that it's just another Defiler. Spot removal for the Trailblazer. I'd say that lined up very, very well for Dimir. So now we just need it to line up a little bit well for us, too. More mana off the top would not be terrific. Just more creatures would be much, much better. Memory Deluge for 7, 2 mana open. Spot removal for Defiler is inevitable here. 1 card remaining in hand as well. So creature off the top. Best thing that could possibly happen here. Trailblazer, actually, would be like the best thing that could happen. Because Trailblazer for 3. And then we go... Wait, no. Never mind. They dropped the GG. Oh, they missed. They missed. 7 cards, guys. Full blown. Memory Deluge. And Dimir didn't find spot removal for the Defiler. Wow. I mean, the rest of the game lined up really, really nicely for them. Finding what they needed right on time. Very nice stuff. We just kept up the pressure. Anyways, if we saw Trailblazer off the top, we actually wouldn't have had the mana for the Defiler without the first Defiler being on the board as well. So that's noteworthy when I said that. But still, any creature off the top would have been pretty good. What we got here? Oh, the Storm Runner. Neat. All right, guys, let's keep the ball rolling. Rotation proof of big green. That Thrun was so good. The second deadly cover-up, though, at that point, we probably should have anticipated it. I guess even though it did line up so nicely for Dimir there, I guess we still technically did get a little lucky. Them missing spot removal in the top 7, because we know how Dimir is set up. When it goes first, this, probably a slow hand. I'm gonna keep it. Let's do it. Let's do it, man. When we got so many top-end creatures, everything's a slow hand, so need a little bit of setup. We'll plot a Trailblazer. If we're successful in plotting a Trailblazer, oh my goodness, they went first, guys. Okay. 5 color going first is scary to say the least. Splunking comes down. We can easily get there, though, because we have ways to give our creatures haste. Bristly Bill 1 turn late. Trailblazer plot is a little bit better here, right? Right. We don't have to... Yeah. We should plot it because we have a lot of 5-drops in the build, and ramping into 5 and drawing a card is pretty good. So against 5 color, Sunfall is everywhere. Probably a 4 of, right? Some of these 5 colors run depopulates as well. And of course, they got the domain removal. They got attracts on the top end. Cavern Calling Angels, of course, for the Atraxa, but also for the 4-drop Angel as well. Cartographer's Survey is one that we don't get to see too often, but those come out untapped because of the Splunking, and they end up grabbing Proving Ground and the Spire's Headquarters, completely mana fixing them, giving them all the domain that they need as well. No, they're actually missing a swamp. No, they're not. That's Proving Grounds. Mana. Trailblazer. We're running right into a Sunfall this turn, but it's going to be worthwhile, I would say, as we establish the Defiler, which was a very good draw. There's a reason we plotted up Trailblazer. It's like I said, we could see a 5-drop off the top. That was really good. Yeah, we are running into a Sunfall, but that's why we got to stock up our hand as well. Beanstalk number 2. If they do drop a Sunfall, they draw 2 here. They would want to swing first, I guess, but they're running it into... Oh, it's going to be Leyline Binding for the turn instead on the Defiler, of course. Although restocking our hand with Trailblazer is probably just going to be more spot removal for the Trailblazer, since they skipped the removal, or the board wipe, and they're opting for just spot removal then. So Archangel of Wrath is the 4-drop angel that I mentioned, able to hit face and clean up the Trailblazer. We're in trouble, dude. We're in big trouble, as Up the Beanstalk is going to keep them in this way too long. We take the turn for a little bit of setup again. Little bit of setup. Try to restock our hand next turn with the Trailblazer. How do we feel about that? You plot things when you're anticipating more removal as well, which we want to here. Bird Migration. They still have 3 open if they drop the Imodane's Recruiter. If it is just that list, right? It could very well be that list. It is not an Imodane's Recruiter. Some of these run a 1-of Recruiter. I'm just going to take the 7 here, guys. We're in trouble regardless. Down to 7. Trailblazer off the top is pretty good, dude. Buff up the Bristly Bill, buddy. I guess we could have buffed the Trailblazer, but we're at 7. They went wide. Bristlebud Farmer. We're just gonna go for the draws for the turn, and we die to the wide swing, right? So draw 1, and then it's gonna be a Hulking Raptor, actually. That's not bad, dude. Honestly, the triple Hulking Raptor is not terrible, but the Bristlebud Farmer is a little bit better here, as it doesn't trade into the Stomper. They got 3 in the air, and with the wide swing, they got us regardless. Also, extra Leyline Bindings could come down out of the opponent's hand, too. Yeah, so we say no attacks. If we went first, would we have had a chance? Maybe not, though. Maybe if I would have waited on the Defiler of Vigor. You see, they played the Leyline Binding no matter what, even if we wait on the Defiler. So, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if there was actually going to be a way there, but... So we block, and take 9. Drop the GGs. Yeah, if we went first. No, I don't think so. I think that would have heavily started to lean towards them regardless, because even if we went first and we did things in a different order, then we still had to prepare for the board wipes that I was talking about. So, and Sunfall and everything too. I think this deck is going to be hard to run against the board wipes, as we want to get past turn 5 as well, right? So by the time the opponent gets past the turn 5 too, they wipe our board, then we have to reestablish. That's what Trailblazer's for, though. Trailblazer keeping our hand nice and stocked up nicely too. I guess technically we want to ramp a little bit sooner than turn 5 too, but ramping to 6 before turn 5 is pretty hard without the Gwenna on the board. Speaking of which, there's a reason we got 4 of them in here. That's a pretty good hand, man. Now we just got to see some of our top end. It's going to be a turn 2 Hydra, right? I think so. It's just a 1/1, but at least when it dies to burn, at least it ramps us a little bit, right? We still have a turn 3 Gwenna then as well. And Gwenna over Trailblazer, or do we just play the Trailblazer? Or do we just plot the Trailblazer? I guess it depends what we see. I'll go no blocks. We don't need that extra treasure ramp right now, unless we see something really good. The Gwenna Ozolith isn't bad. It's Gwenna for the turn though, right? They easily burned the Gwenna away, though. It's fine. I think it's fine. So right now, we're seeing only the front end of the build. We are not actually seeing the top end, which could be really bad. So even if they burn the Gwenna, It's fine because we don't have anything to ramp into it anyways. Not having anything to ramp, probably okay to block now though, I guess, right? Before they find some way to exile it or something. Even though this looks like a burn list. Oh, there we go, there we go. Bristlebud Farmer's pretty good. You could also just play like Ozolith for the turn and the Trailblazer and try to draw off the Trailblazer, but Trailblazer gets picked up by burn really easily. So I guess we could plot the Trailblazer and play the Ozolith. How do we want to play around more burn from the opponent's hand? And like, pretty much no matter what, it's going to be in the opponent's hand, right? So I think that's fine. Bristlebud Farmer, like just playing that outright without getting Trailblazer down first means we don't have a great way to restock the hand. Now what ends up happening though is they could still burn the Trailblazer away. Activate only as a sorcery on Ozolith, so it's very likely that Trailblazer dies, but it was still worth the shot, I think. I hope. So, Bristlebud Farmer. Yeah, if this was instant speed, Ozolith's ability, then we might have a way to get around the burn, but unfortunately, it is a lightning strike. But it's a lightning strike that's not hitting our face, and we have 2 foods available. But I'm actually just going to buff the Bristlebud Farmer because a 7/7 should be hard for Boros to deal with. Especially burn-style Boros, where they might not be running just generic spot removal. Alright, Stalwart. Start with the boost. Swing. See what they do. Pop a food? Heck yeah. Heck yeah, we pop a food. Ooh. What do I want? I like the bristly bill. But the ward 2 on the Hulking Raptor could be good too. Now I'm gonna get greedy with it. See what they do with our 9/9. Alright. Bristly Bill. And Stalwart. And now even land off the top would be good, so they definitely want to burn away the Bristly Bill. But anything that takes them away from getting rid of this farmer... Oh, and the festivities does take care of the Stalwart and give him a pretty good swing here with the Flame Breathers. But then we do have a full swing next turn, and Ozolith gets us there. GG opponent. Very nice. I was a little worried that I was playing things in a bizarre order early on there, but it ended up working out nicely. And yeah, just like when you are up against those builds, you just always have to anticipate. It's the same concept as we just anticipated everything with like the Dimir build and of course the 5-color build too. They didn't end up dropping the Sunfall, but still like anticipating it comes in handy, I guess is the words I'm looking for there. So far so good, man. Just like having good cards in general packed in. We don't necessarily need to see all the synergies when we're just dropping big old chunky creatures, and some decks really struggle with that. Alright, opponent, what you bringing to the table, buddy? I'm keeping this. There's so much we could see. So many 2s, so many 3s. Gwenna off the top would be pretty good. Ten of Bones joins up. I'm sorry, Defiler of Vigor. I'm sorry, buddy, but Thrun is going to be so much better. Oh, hey, you're back. Listen, I'm sorry about what happened to your friend Defiler. I'm sorry. Okay, let's get the Ozolith down and established. Get the swing with the Stalwart. The opponent was tapped out there. We don't have anything for 1 mana in hand. Ooh, Caustic Bronco. We're definitely going to need to see some mana off the top here, but I am going for that swing while we have it. Surrak and Goreclaw's good, but not if we don't see more, and Stalwart could easily get picked up by spot removal. Grabbing a Sheoldred, taking 4. Okay. Okay. That Sheoldred's going to be a problem. Mana off the top. Going to be super necessary. Uh-oh, guys. They're going for the Avarice here. Putting a big old chunky thing on top to pair with the Bronco, except for the fact that they're going to be drawing it, actually. Another 5 mana thing off the top, guys. We're technically in trouble right now. All our eggs are on one Stalwart basket, and there is nothing else we could possibly do. If they remove it, that's it. Like, Forest off the top doesn't get us anywhere. We'd have to wait a couple turns. Sheoldred can come down for the turn. They can saddle up the Bronco. At 24 mana, though, I think 24 still makes sense for what it is. Wow. They go for 4 mana, remove that. We do find a forest, but now we don't have the Stalwart to ramp us into our 5-drop. I guess technically we could still get there. The opponent at 7. How come we can still activate this even though we don't control it? Oh, we can put it on the Ozolith itself because it's an artifact as well. Well, you know what? I'm going to do that. There you go, Ozolith. We have nothing else for the turn, so... and it's not worth bluffing for the opponent when we just have 4 forests. Deep Cavern Bat, they take that Thrun. Period. That Thrun is out of here, dude. Like, the Indestructible on our turn gets around the... Sheoldred the Apocalypse. Just like, they take one of the Defilers. Thrun is still in this game, dude. Forest off the top would be huge. Tiny Bones, they do end up putting a counter on the New Blood. Because it's a legendary. They do saddle up the Bronco. We're going to be taking 1 because it's a cut down. Gwenna, you don't survive, Gwenna. There's no way this Gwenna survives the turn. Oh, I mean, cut down in hand. Is it worth not playing the Gwenna? No, I think we're just dead, you know. Oh, Gwenna's alive. Gwenna's alive, dude. What do we play? Where do we start? We're dead like next turn. They want to swing just with the New Blood and the Bat, go back up to 8. We take 5, likely, if we want Gwenna to survive the turn. So a big thing here. Mana off the top. No, because only Gwenna's untapping. So we'd need like a, I was going to say like we'll have Ozolith open if we play the Goreclaw. Because Gwenna untaps, but Gwenna has only creatures and creature abilities as well. Actually, keep it all back. They are afraid of hasty things off the Goreclaw, I suppose. Plus, the Gwenna gets a double buff here. If we go Defiler for the turn, we still don't have what we need, as the Gwenna untaps. We'll have 3, 4. We'd be able to play a 4-drop, essentially. However, if we go green, go Thrun. Gwenna untaps. Yeah, 4 open. Wait, 4 open, pay 2, play Thrun? Yeah, that actually works, right? They just don't have haste, but it's still something. It's still something. Pay the 2, down to 10. And that is a 8-9. We do force a block here if we swing, but they have so much on the board, and we're only at 10. So we actually have to keep a blocker back. So no attacks. It's a good turn. It's a good turn, but without the haste from the Surrak and Goreclaw, so just because we missed that 1 mana earlier, we're just a little bit behind. Sheoldred comes down for the turn. Sheoldred is going to do 2 damage to us regardless. We do take 1 from the Tiny Bones. Oh, the zombies have Menace too. We're dead on a full swing, guys. We're dead. We have good blocks, but that's it because of the Sheoldred. Oh, they threw up the Bronco. We have a chance of survival now. Guys, we have a chance of survival here. Right, I'm pretty sure we would have died on a full swing. Block there. Take the 1. We have a chance. We do. Drop Citadel. Going down to 6. Play the Force. They drop the GGs. Is the opponent going to let us play it out is the big question here. Because we want to give trample to our creatures and then buff our creatures as well. Then we go here and we'll buff up the Thrun. Buffing wide, I guess. Wait, do we have... Yeah, we have lethal. Regardless of the blocks, because everything gets trample. And we have 1931 on the board. Oh, buddy. It was, in fact, a very good game, opponent. We'll drop that GG in return. Block there. No lifelink over there either. It's so much excess damage pushing through. I do think that the opponent ended up missing lethal, though, but I guess don't quote me on it, because I didn't take the time to actually add the numbers up. But let me know in the comments if the opponent ended up actually missing lethal there. 75% win rate. We're going to try one more game, guys. I think we're doing pretty good. Win or lose, I'm pretty darn satisfied with how the deck list has played out. What we got here? Ooh, interesting vehicle. All right, one more game. Win or lose. Yeah, there's just like sometimes you just go... You just get so many big creatures on the board that it's just completely overwhelming. And so any amount of establishing things onto the board or any amount of setup just goes way too far for the opponent to keep up with. It's not a bad hand. Swift Spear. Oh, buddy, good thing we went first. I don't think Gwenna's going to survive, so do we plot the Trailblazer instead? The opponent's probably pretty happy to see Ozolith here because they like that's a couple very, very slow turns from us. And as far as mono red goes, a couple slow turns for mono red too, I suppose. Oh, Gwenna. Oh, friend. Oh, buddy. Let's see it. Let's see if Gwenna survives the turn. This might be a very fast last game. Could be like Mountain, Lightning Strike Gwenna, Monstrous Rage on any of their cards. And that would be huge for mono red. There's step 1. Step 1 of the process. And step 2 of the process. We've played enough mono red. We've seen enough mono red. We called that way early, huh? Excuse me, guys. Slowly but surely losing my voice. Gwenna number 2 is just not going to be enough here, I would say. But give it a shot. I'm pretty sure we're out of this game, unfortunately, guys. It was a very, very fast last game, but this is a realistic thing that's going to happen, and it's going to happen often, too, so it's still worth the showcase, I would say. Good game, opponent. Pretty much anything that mono red could do was going to get that last 6 through off of just a Gwenna play for the turn. Wow. They end up dumping their whole hand. -11, guys. Holy cow. There was not going to be a lot of ways through there, huh? Bringing the deck win rate back down to a 60%. I got to be 100%. If we were still playing and we went for another 5 games, I do think that the deck win rate right now in current standard would sit around a 50% and probably a little bit less as well. So let's go ahead, go over the deck list one more time here. Here we are, guys. Rotation proof, big green. While I have you here at the end of the video, make sure you check out that description as well as that Patreon link too. Wait. That's not what I say. Check out that description for that Discord link as well as that Patreon link too. If you're interested in supporting the channel that way. I don't know why I said, you know what? I just need to have a script in front of me nowadays, huh? All right, guys. So here's the deck list again. Also, by the way, hey, to all my patrons, y'all are friggin' champions, dude. Thank you so much. Seriously, that Patreon really does go the extra mile, so thank you. Anyways, here's the deck list. Trailblazer. You gotta keep your eye on this card, dude. And the opponent's gotta keep an eye on it, too. huge target on its back. It needs to be removed because if you stock up your hand in a deck like this, there's so much going on here with how it ramps and with how we can pop off with the Defiler as well. If you're ramping with Gwenna and you're activating the Defiler of Vigor's abilities at the same time, and you have like 5 or 6 forests on the board already, then you're really, really popping off, dude. And you're just dropping your whole hand onto the board, hence the Trailblazer, hopefully restocking your hand, getting it ready for the opponent's board wipe or something. That's getting around the board wipes. That's why there's 2 Surrak and Goreclaws in here on the top end. It was very hard to actually get this onto the board on the same turns as you're dropping other creatures. So it does need established on the board state first. But the whole deck needs established on the board state first. Do we want 25 forests based on those games? I think so. And that's a shame because now you're going to flood a little bit. But like how often were we just like at 3 mana and we desperately needed a 4th? Often, very often, especially if you have Stalwart and Ozolith. Look, Ozolith is a really cool card. It works with all of the +1/+1 counters in here. And a lot of cards give +1/+1 counters. From the Gwenna to the Hydra, the Bristly, Bill, the Defiler. Actually, that's it. Right? I think so. I don't think I missed anything here. So I guess not as many as you'd think, but there's definitely like a +1/+1 counter theme in here. And the Ozolith does go a long way, especially if you're just activating that bottom ability for 1 and a green, tap, put a +1/+1 counter on something, which happens to just be 2 +1/+1 counters. It still has the cycling on it as well. 25 forest makes sense. This is just too much of a top end to keep the 24, regardless of how much ramp we have. And don't forget potential ramp on the Trailblazer if you do plot it. How often are you going to plot it, though, if you're up against mono red like that last game? Not very often. You plot, and then they win next turn. So you need something, anything on the board, and that at that point means just more forests, too. So I think you guys might agree with me there. Maybe not. I do get the comments every now and then that I play with too many lands, but like I think more often I complain that I need a mana off the top more than I complain that I flood out too. Although we do flood a lot. I don't know. It might be pretty even split now that I'm thinking about it. Ramp on the Hulking Raptor is actually really good too because the Ward 2 always goes a long way because there's so much spot removal all the time. And you know what we've been seeing a lot recently, unfortunately? A lot of sacrifice spot removal. Sheoldred's Edict and Liliana making the cut in a lot of builds. And that gets around the wards and the hexproofs and all that, right? Which actually gets around the Thrun here too, right? Because it specifically says can't be the target. And it gets around the indestructible as well. So Thrun, though, Thrun as a one of, I'm keeping this, man. We played with Thrun a lot in the past, actually, and some people really don't like Thrun, just calling it a clunky top end. I really like Thrun. Can't be countered. That's beautiful. The trample's beautiful. On your turn, it's indestructible. Beautiful. And then it can't be a target by non-green spells. And if the only things it can be targeted by are green spells, that's pretty darn good because your opponent just needs like a really good fight spell then, and they just so happen to have to be playing green. But the sacrifice removal does hit it, of course, and that's the same concept with the board wipes too, which, as you guys know, throughout all of those games, I was screaming board wipe the entire time because I was ready for the opponent to drop the next board wipe. So yeah, something to think about. I really like Thrun, though. Really neat card. I really like Kaslem, too. Our whole top end, really like this. I think Silverback Elder could have been pretty great today. If you are able to survive a few extra turns against mono red, maybe keep the Gwenna around. By some miracle, the opponent misses Lightning Strike. Keep the Gwenna around. Now you get that Elder down or something. Elder blocks really well. Of course, it only blocks on the ground, so Slickshot Show Off is still getting through in the air. But 5/7, it would be like unheard of for an opponent that's playing red to actually clean up an Elder. Like seriously, 5/7. Like we know they have Witchstalker Frenzies and stuff, so I guess it would have to be an elaborate combat trick at that point where we block with the Elder, they drop a Witchstalker Frenzy, and then they buff up a prowess creature or something that we blocked. I guess that's possible, right? But still, 5/7, great stats. And then if you keep the Elder around and you survive, then you start dropping creatures. Whenever you cast those creature spells, that bottom ability there, you can start gaining 4 life. And again, against mono red too, you don't have to gain the 4. You could destroy target artifact or enchantment, which we do see a lot of Kamano, of course, but then also we see every now and then. I don't know why I can't think of the card names today, guys. Really struggling with words and names this evening. Brask Forge. Every now and then we see the Forge, and maybe we'll see Forge more after rotation too. Speaking of rotation, guys, what I like to do, just in case, so the cards we're missing, or the cards we're losing, is actually Midnight Hunt, Crimson Vow, Neon Dynasty, and Streets of New Capenna. We get to keep everything else, which is a huge chunk of cards still. That's why these rotation-proof lists have actually been really easy to put together. But if you're ever concerned, you could always build it in Standard and then switch over to Alchemy, because Alchemy already rotated. And then if it yells at you, you made an oopsie daisies. So for example here, if we switch back to Standard and put a Streets of New Capenna card in real quick here, like this Cabaretti Initiate, for example, we'll put that in, right? And then we switch over to Alchemy. And it yells at us because it's like, hey, bro, this rotated over here in Alchemy. You can't play with that. So that's what I've been doing, especially since, you know, I'm posting these videos and I'm posting these deck lists over on Aether Hub too. I do want to make sure that I'm actually 100% rotation proof and I didn't accidentally make a mistake or something, you know what I mean? So I thought I'd show you that again here at the end. Guys, let me know what you thought of the deck list down in the comments. What would you add or take out? What does your big green deck list look like? I would love to see what everyone's been playing with. I feel like green is just like, it's almost there, man. It's like so close, maybe like 1 or 2 more good green cards from some upcoming sets, and it might be absolutely disgusting because there's just so many powerful green cards already. We're just waiting a little bit, and then mono green might be back, you know what I mean? And like big cards to keep an eye on from the new sets for sure. Trailblazer, I think this Bristlebud Farmer is ridiculous too. Just crazy stats. The extra foods are crazy too. Just so much, man. So many good cards. The power level of Standard is wild. Okay, guys, I'm starting to lose my voice. I'm a bounce. Thank you again for being here. And if you made it this far into the video, for real, y'all are champions. I super duper appreciate you, and I will see you in the next video.